Do women lose interest even when you give them everything? Ever feel like the more you try, the faster they pull away? Why do the loudest men get ignored, while the calmest ones command the room? You've been told to be nice, to give more, to explain yourself. But what if that's the exact reason you keep getting overlooked, replaced, or disrespected? This isn't just about dating, it's about power, emotional clarity, strategic presence. And in this video, I'm going to break down 5 Machiavellian rules that flip the entire game. Not through manipulation, but through self-mastery. These aren't gimmicks. These are truths most men never hear, and even fewer apply. So if you're tired of being reactive, tired of feeling disposable, and ready to move like the man people feel, even in silence, you're in the right place. Tap like if you're ready for clarity. Hit subscribe to Unleashed, where you don't just get content, you get strategy. Let's begin. Most men think dominance means being louder, tougher, more aggressive. They think women will respect them if they impress, if they provide, if they perform. They're wrong. In today's world, real power doesn't scream. It doesn't chase. It doesn't need permission to exist. The most powerful man isn't the one who controls others. It's the one who doesn't need to beg for connection, approval, or love. He doesn't get tested with silence or punished with guilt. He doesn't fold under pressure or reshape himself to keep a woman interested. Because in relationships, the weak man gets used. He gets led, manipulated, replaced. Not because women are cruel, but because nature tests what's soft and follows what's solid. So this video isn't about manipulation. It's about becoming a man who can't be bent. If you're tired of overgiving, of being chosen then discarded, of never knowing where you stand, watch this till the end, because I'm going to show you 5 Machiavellian rules for emotional and relational dominance. The kind that works whether you're single, dating, married, or rebuilding from scratch. The kind that makes women feel it and men respect it. Real strength isn't loud. It's not in chasing, pleasing, or performing. It's in holding frame when the world pushes against you. Most men were conditioned to trade their power for love, attention, or sex. They think sacrifice equals value. They think giving endlessly makes them worthy. But the truth is, if you overgive without standards, you don't become loved. You become replaceable. The moment you trade your center for closeness, you've already lost her respect. And without respect, no connection lasts. That's why this isn't just dating advice. It's self-protection. Because the man who doesn't build himself gets built by someone else. His identity, his role, even his emotions, gets shaped by the story someone else is writing. And when that story ends, he's left with nothing. That's not strength. That's slavery in disguise. So these rules, these Machiavellian principles, aren't meant to make you manipulative or cold. They're meant to make you clear, unshakable. A man who knows what he allows, what he'll walk away from, and what he'll never compromise. And that's the kind of presence that changes everything around it, without saying a word. Because women don't follow the man who shouts. They follow the one who doesn't flinch. Let's begin. Rule 1. Speak less, watch more. Power belongs to the man who doesn't react. Most men lose power not because they speak, but because they speak too soon. They defend too fast. They explain too much. They respond without thinking. And every time they do, they reveal something dangerous: emotional dependence. Machiavelli warned us clearly. A prince should learn to avoid being hated or despised, and nothing renders a man so contemptible as inconstancy. Translation: reactivity is weakness. The man who flinches first loses the game. If she pulls away, pauses, or gives silence after conflict, most men crumble. They send paragraphs. They apologize for things they didn't do. They try to fix what wasn't broken, because deep down, they're not trying to fix the relationship. They're trying to fix their own discomfort with disapproval. And when you let that discomfort control you, you hand her the frame. You prove that her distance governs your emotional state. But when you stay calm, when you observe instead of chase, you break the pattern. You stop being predictable, and in doing so, you regain something priceless: power over your own center. That's the first law. And if you get this right, everything else shifts around it. Rule 2, control the frame or be trapped inside hers. People, especially women, don't respond to facts. They respond to the story they've already written in their mind. And once that story is set, even your best actions will get misread. Machiavelli taught, men in general judge more from appearances than from reality. All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration. He wasn't being cynical, he was being honest. Perception is power, and if you don't shape it, someone else will, usually to your disadvantage. Let's bring this to relationships. You keep giving, you keep adjusting, you keep proving yourself, hoping she finally sees your worth. But here's the problem. She already decided you're trying too hard. And once you've been framed as needy, even confidence looks like overcompensation. Even generosity starts to reek of guilt. You could say all the right words, show up with all the right gestures, but through the wrong frame, you're still interpreted as weak. Now flip it. You say less, move slower, speak when it matters and walk away when it doesn't. You don't ask to be noticed. You become too grounded to ignore. Suddenly, she starts assigning you traits you never announced. Mysterious, grounded, high value. Why? Because you controlled the frame before trying to influence the outcome. And this doesn't only apply to women. In everyday life, the same law rules. Two men enter a room. One is silent, well-dressed, and calm. He observes more than he speaks. People feel his presence. They assume status, competence, depth before he even opens his mouth. The other man tries to impress. He talks too much, explains before being questioned, and even if he has more skills, he's perceived as insecure. Same facts, different frame. One man becomes the room's reference point. The other blends into the background noise. Machiavelli said, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. The point isn't to be fake, it's to reveal strategically. Most men live in emotional exposure. They try so hard to be seen that they forget the power of restraint. But influence isn't about visibility. It's about gravity, about presence. When you're clear on your value, you don't need to show all your cards. You let others wonder what's behind the silence. And curiosity, that's magnetic. Here's a precise move to shift the frame starting today. Stop chasing admiration. Stop forcing proof. Instead, appear with purpose. Speak with intention. Withdraw when necessary. Let her fill the blanks with imagination, not information. Because a man who doesn't try to be seen often becomes unforgettable. And in a world ruled by perception, that's how you win without noise. Rule 3, win her mind before you win her heart. Attraction begins in the mind, and if she doesn't respect your mental clarity, she'll never stay loyal to your emotional investment. Most men try to win women by overgiving emotionally. They flood her with compliments, affection, long messages. But they forget one thing. Her belief system shapes her attraction, not your effort. You can write the perfect text, bring the right flowers, be the most consistent man in her life, and still lose. Not because you lacked emotion, but because you lacked strategy. Machiavelli would never have wasted time charming someone who already made up their mind. He believed in something deeper. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Translation: who you surround yourself with or choose as a partner reveals your judgment. That includes the beliefs you tolerate. Let's make it real. In relationships, you message her all day. You send gifts. You try to prove you're not like the other guys. But you never stop to ask, what does she actually believe about men? Does she think men are weak, replaceable, dangerous? Does she even want love or just attention? Because if her core belief is that men always disappoint, no message or gesture will change that. You can't outgive a belief system that's rigged against you. She'll admire your effort. She might even call you amazing, and she'll still leave. Not because you weren't caring, but because you weren't calculated. She didn't need more of your heart. She needed a man with the clarity to challenge her inner narrative. And if you never thought to ask what story she's living inside, you've already lost her mind, even if you win her time. The same rule applies everywhere. Let's say you're at a family dinner. You try to convince your cousin your business idea makes sense. You bring data, results, plans, but he already believes you're not serious enough. So nothing changes. Why? Because people don't move because of truth. They move because of what they believe. If you don't know how to read the story behind someone's reactions, you'll waste your life arguing with surface-level resistance. You'll show up with evidence, thinking logic wins, but logic doesn't change minds. Beliefs do. And if you want influence, you don't push harder. You reframe smarter. Rule 4. See through her mask without triggering the guard. Every woman wears a mask. Sometimes it looks like confidence. Sometimes it looks like sarcasm, independence, coldness, or control. But underneath, there's often a need for validation, a fear of rejection, or an old wound she doesn't want you to see. And if you react to the mask, you lose. You'll argue with her attitude instead of understanding her fear. You'll defend yourself against her silence instead of decoding her expectations. But if you see through it, you don't just win the moment. You win leverage, quietly, calmly, without war. Machiavelli saw this play out in every court, every kingdom, every circle of power. He wrote, "It is double pleasure to deceive the deceiver, not to hurt, but to gain insight without exposing your hand." Let's break it down. In relationships, she says, "Do what you want." So you do. Then she's cold, distant, dismissive. That's not indifference. That's camouflaged attachment. She doesn't want to seem needy, but deep down she's affected. She cared. She wanted you to choose her without asking. But she masked it in indifference to protect her ego. And most men either get angry or start over-explaining. They either lash out or fold in. But the strategic man does neither. He doesn't react. He doesn't explain. He doesn't defend. He mirrors. He responds with calm understanding, not confrontation. He watches how the mask slips when pressure fades, because he knows the louder the defense, the deeper the wound. And only by staying calm does he gain access to what's really behind the surface. In everyday life, the principle is the same. You're in a store. The cashier is cold, borderline rude. Instead of snapping back, you smile. You slow down. You ask, "Rough day?" Suddenly, she softens. The mask breaks, because her behavior had nothing to do with you. It was a shield. Just like many women's attitudes aren't personal, they're patterns, responses shaped by past experiences, past betrayals, past expectations. Same thing at a family dinner. Your uncle criticizes your career in front of everyone. You feel the heat rise, but instead of fighting back, you listen. Later, you find out he's been laid off, embarrassed, didn't want to admit it. His pride wasn't arrogance, it was armor. And if you had reacted with ego, you would have missed the truth. Here's the move that separates pawns from players. Don't try to fix pride. Don't fight masks, mirror them. Let her feel seen, not exposed. Ask calm, subtle questions. Offer emotional safety without trying to solve her. Then watch. If her pride drops and softness appears, she's real. There's something worth exploring. But if the mask stays glued, if there's no opening, no shift, no vulnerability, withdraw your energy. Quietly, completely. Because the man who can see through armor and remain grounded becomes magnetic. Not just to women, but to every room he walks into. Why? Because in a world addicted to performance, a man who sees reality beneath appearances becomes rare. And what's rare? It becomes powerful. Now let's talk precision. When a woman throws attitude, she's not always attacking you. Sometimes she's revealing the only way she knows how to test you. She wants to see if you'll collapse, correct yourself, or crumble. She's not just challenging your words, she's probing your center. And your job isn't to please her, it's to hold posture without punishing her for the test, to stay solid without being cold, to show her she's safe without making yourself small. This doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. It means decoding the signal. Because emotional maturity isn't about controlling others, it's about controlling your own reactions when others can't control theirs. The power isn't in domination, it's in clarity. Clarity that lets you spot projection when it's thrown at you, and respond not from insecurity, but from grounded observation. Observation. So when she pulls away, don't panic. When she says something cutting, don't retaliate. When she acts detached, don't chase. Instead, ask yourself, is this real or is it armor? And if it's armor, the worst move is to break it with force. The best move is to make her feel safe enough to remove it herself. Because women aren't drawn to men who fix them. They're drawn to men who can hold them without falling apart, to men who can see their sharp edges and not be cut, who can witness the chaos and still be calm. And that's not just attractive. That's unforgettable. That's the kind of presence that doesn't demand loyalty. It invites it. Not because you begged for love, but because you made her feel something no one else could. Trust without pressure, safety without smothering, depth without drama. Rule 5 is coming. But before we move on, ask yourself, when things get tense, do you fight the mask or do you read it? That answer reveals whether you're reacting like the masses or moving like a master. In everyday life, you're at a gathering. Everyone's talking about their wins, their plans, their opinions. You listen more than you speak. You stay calm. People notice you, not because you're loud, but because your silence forces them to wonder, who is this guy? That curiosity becomes your aura. You become the anomaly in a sea of noise. And the truth is, most people don't trust noise. They tolerate it. But silence backed by presence? That earns attention without effort. It signals that you're not chasing validation. You're rooted in it. Same thing at work. You don't announce every task. You don't defend every idea. You let results speak. And because no one can fully predict your next move, they respect your presence. You don't just show competence. You create mystique. You don't argue your value, you embody it. And in doing so, you shift the entire energy of a room without ever raising your voice. People instinctively respect what they can't fully read, because mystery, when backed by grounded action, is power. Here's the precise shift that builds aura and magnetism. Stop revealing everything. Start speaking less than you know. Start revealing less than you feel. Start moving less than you're capable of. Not because you're hiding, but because you understand restraint is a form of power. Men who overshare give their leverage away. They explain themselves to be liked. But when you operate from clarity, you don't perform, you project presence. And that's when people lean in. That's when curiosity turns into respect. Because when a man becomes predictable, he becomes manageable. But when he moves like a mystery, calmly, powerfully, intentionally, he becomes unforgettable. He doesn't just stand out, he changes the temperature of the room. And that is the essence of masculine dominance. Not force, not loudness, but calibrated energy that doesn't shake when tested. If you've made it here, you've already done what most men avoid. You've faced the mirror. You've stepped away from comfort and leaned into truth. In a world that teaches men to earn love by shrinking, apologizing, and performing, you've chosen something rare. Self-respect without conditions. You've chosen to become solid from within instead of bending to be accepted from the outside. That alone separates you from the 99%. Most men live on emotional autopilot. They chase validation, then resent the women who control them. They confuse intensity for intimacy, chaos for connection, and obedience for love. But you're building something else. Not noise, not neediness, but presence. Deep, grounded, undeniable. The kind of presence that doesn't chase, it draws. That doesn't explain, it holds. That doesn't demand attention, it earns it by contrast. These Machiavellian rules weren't made to make you colder. They were made to make you clear, to help you see through the smiles that manipulate, to protect your soul from being shaped by someone else's fantasy. Because let's be honest, most heartbreak doesn't come from being rejected. It comes from being accepted for someone you're not. That kind of betrayal doesn't just break your heart, it fractures your identity. But when you live by design, not by reaction, your silence becomes strategy. Your boundaries become unshakable, and your love, it becomes a choice, never a leash. From this moment on, you don't need to explain yourself. You refine yourself. You don't fight to prove your worth. You become a man whose worth is self-evident. You lead conversations without dominating them. You inspire attraction without needing to perform. You show strength not by volume, but by what you refuse to tolerate. Because when you become the standard, you stop negotiating your value. You stop adjusting for approval, and you start attracting women and environments that move with your clarity. This is how kings are made. not in palaces, but in quiet moments of self-mastery. Not through titles, but through posture, through the consistent choice to choose alignment over approval, to protect your peace like it's a kingdom. Because the man who walks in clarity doesn't chase, he attracts, and what he attracts respects him. Stay calm, stay strategic, stay sovereign, and remember, you're not here to be loved for a mask. You're here to be respected for your truth, for your presence, for the man you've chosen to become. And if you're ready to take it further, if you're one of the few who truly wants to change their life, not just understand it, what I'm working on will change the way women see you and the way you see yourself. It's coming soon, so stay tuned. If this spoke to you, don't just keep it in your head. Write a comment, even just a few words. It helps you remember, and it might help someone else too. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this content. Share this with someone who, in your eyes, needs it right now. Just trust your instinct, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to get clearer, more solid inside. So let's build minds that don't break. Let's build men who can't be bent. And let's walk as those who don't need to be chased to be chosen, because we've already chosen ourselves.